Welcome back to this video. Today we are going to continue on our chapter 8 part 3, which is about the animals' mechanisms of breathing. And we are going to learn about, in this video, the breathing mechanisms for different animals, for example, like fish, frogs, and also insects. So first, what is the insects' breathing mechanisms, how the insects breathe? So the abdominal muscle of the insects will relax and contract, and this will allow the air to go in and out of the tracheal system of that insect. So when we talk about breathing, it actually includes an inhalation and also an exhalation process. Okay. So first about the inhalation, which is air going in into the respiratory system. So during inhalation, the abdominal muscle of the insects is going to relax, and this is going to reduce the air pressure inside. So when the air pressure in the trachea is lesser, the air in the environment is going to enter through the spiracle and enters into the tracheal system of the insects. So in opposite, during the exhalation, the abdominal muscle will contract, and this when the abdominal muscle of the insects contracts, going to increase the air pressure in the trachea and forces the air out of the spiracle. So that's all for the insects breathing mechanisms, which is very simple. And moving on to the breathing mechanisms of frogs. So this is how frogs breathing, which includes the inhalation and exhalation. So this is the overview, which I will talk about in general. So during inhalation, at first the glottis, which is somewhere around the throat of the frogs, the glottis of the frogs will close, and then the air is going to enter through the nostrils. Okay, and then the floor of the buccal-pharyngeal cavity. This is which is we can call it in as the floor of the mouth, but in the frogs we call it as the floor of the buccal-pharyngeal cavity. So this floor of the buccal-pharyngeal cavity is going to lower, and this is going to increase the volume inside the mouth cavity of the frogs. So the pressure become lesser here. So when the pressure become lesser here, the greater pressure in the environment is going to enter into the mouth of the frogs. And now this is the first phase for the inhalations of the frogs. Okay, and moving on, after the air enters, the glottis is going to open. Okay, this is the glottis. The glottis is going to open, and then the nostrils going to close. And then what's next is the floor of the buccal-pharyngeal cavity, which is the floor of the mouth here, is going to raise. When it raises, it's just like the abdominal muscle in the insects contract. Okay, so increase the pressure, and the air is going to move into the lungs area. Okay, it's going to move into the lungs. It will not goes back to the environment because the nostrils are closing. Okay, so lastly about the exhalation, the nostrils is going to open, and then the glottis going to open. So the air from the lungs is going to escape out and go into the environment through the nostrils. That's the general overview, and this is what I mentioned just now, but it's in more in words. Okay, in active states, the frogs is going to breathe through the mouth and also lungs. Okay, but if in active state, they're going to breathe through skin. And during inhalations, the frog breathe, and then the mouth and glottis are closed, and the floor of the buccal-pharyngeal cavity is lowered. So when it's lowered, it's going to lower the air pressure in the mouth cavity and going to draw air from the environment into the buccal-pharyngeal cavity. And when the glottis opens, which is the second phase, the nostrils close and the floor of the buccal-pharyngeal is raised. So when the buccal-pharyngeal cavity raised, the pressure is going to increase and pushes the air into the lungs. This is the whole process of the inhalation. And during exhalation, the lungs are going to contract and air is expelled from the lungs. And this is helped by the abdominal pressure and also the elasticity of the lungs. Okay, the lungs of the frogs is elastic, and also some air is expelled while the rest is mixed with the air in the buccal-pharyngeal cavity. So the air is either being expelled during exhalation, or the air is being mixed with the air in the buccal-pharyngeal cavity, or in another word, the oral cavity of the frog. So lastly, we also learn about the breathing mechanism of fish. So the fish breathing is aided by its mouth movement and also its operculum. The operculum is at the gills of the fish, and the ventilation is going to increases the flow of the water in the respiratory surface. Okay. So this is going to help the fish to breathe more easily when they move, when they swims in the water. So this is the whole general overview of the inhalation and also exhalation of a fish. So during inhalation, the mouth of the fish is going to open, and then the floor of the buccal cavity is going to lower. This is quite similar to the breathings in a frog, because the floor of the buccal pharyngeal cavity is lowered, but in the fish, the floor of the buccal cavity is lowered. Okay, and then the uh, oxygens in the water is going to move into this area, and the operculum opening is closed. Okay, this is the side of the fish, which is the gill arch. Okay, so far it's closed, only the mouth is open to allow the oxygens that dissolve in the water to move in through the mouth. So during exhalation, the mouth is going to close, and then the flow of the buccal cavity increases. So this is going to increases the pressure in the buccal cavity, and then the operculum opening, which is the gills, is going to open, and then the water going to flows out. Okay, so it's exhaled through this operculum, but it's inhaled through the mouth of the fish. That's very simple of the breathing of the fish. So recap of the lesson. In today's video, we learned about that three different animals breathing mechanism, which is fish, frog, and also insects. Alright, so that's all for today's video. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye bye.